back, everybody. Here we are in my home bar, the Tombstone Tavern. Today, we are going to be reviewing some alcohol now. Justin, tell them how this segment works.
So this segment, we're going to review the taste, the aroma as kind of one category, drinkability as another category, cost, and our kind of overall thoughts on the liquors. Now, we're going to start this off with the Silver Dollar vodka from Las Vegas. You know, you think vodka, you think Russia.
Absolutely.
I'm a little hesitant to try this one. This is one that we haven't actually tried yet.
Well, what's interesting about this one, though, is for those of you who are bourbon fans out there, the same company that makes Smoke Wagon actually makes this. This is I believe you said it was a corn.
Yeah, this one
Vodka.
is a corn mash vodka.
Interesting.
It's actually gluten-free.
Okay, so for all of you people out there, gluten-free vodka. Here you go.
Yeah, that's not something I expected. Honestly, it's not something I've ever thought about when I talk about liquor.
Let's think about it, though. Okay, what is vodka mainly made from? It's made from grain and potato.
Yeah, and to be fair, I know so little about gluten, I don't know if either of those have gluten.
Interesting.
Let us know.
So aroma first.
Yeah, aroma.
Very, very strong. I'm sorry, I'm getting a really pungent ethanol here. Almost like hairspray.
You know,
I'm not trying. I'm being very honest with this, and my nose isn't worth crap.
my nose is worth slightly less. The one thing about a good vodka is it should be odorless and tasteless. It should drink like water when it's drank straight. That's the hallmarks of a top shelf vodka. Vodka is primarily a mixed drink. I do know vodka a little bit better than you do. But like I said, I explained vodka is supposed to be an odorless, tasteless liquor.
Right.
So the fact that we have
two different notes right off
the bat, to me, gives this... It is making me think twice about this one.
So before you drink this, it's only fair to note to everybody, this is an initial reaction taste. We have never tasted either one of these bottles before. And we're excited. So...
Yeah. I've drank a lot of vodkas. I've never tried the Silver Dollar. That's kind of why I said I was hesitant on this one. Because you think... Good vodka, you think Russian vodka.
Well, maybe like Holland or Netherlands or something like that. I mean, we get some good ones out of there.
Finnish or Russian?
Finnish is the other one I'm thinking of. All right, let's go ahead. I'm not going to lie, the hairspray one is definitely getting me some...
Really?
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to let you go first because I need to process this one a little bit.
You need to process this one a little bit. So on this one, the taste itself is a very smooth taste for me.
Okay.
There's not a whole lot of overpowering taste that goes into this one, which for a vodka, that's very good. Vodka shouldn't have too much of a taste. There is a burn to it, and I think that's why you're coughing and freaking out over here. But as far as vodka burns, this one's fairly smooth.
Okay, here's where I'm going to go with this. So I'm a bourbon guy and I'm a whiskey guy. And normally what the nose doesn't transfer to the palate is kind of the word that gets used a lot in the bourbon industry. I'm going to tell you right now, the nose transferred to the palate for me. I tasted like I'm drinking hairspray. The burn is not the worst burn I've ever had. But, okay, yeah, I...
See...
Like, if this thing was in maybe like a screwdriver or something, there's possibilities because it does have a kick.
It does have a kick to it.
I mean, but the burn isn't like I'm drinking gasoline or kerosene.
See, and that's where a lot of the lower shelf vodkas fail, is they do taste like gasoline or kerosene. This one, I did not get that hairspray flavor transferring to my palate. I got a very smooth drink out of this.
So my second drink, and for those of you out there, this is the thing we're going to tell everybody. Your first drink is your palatizing drink. You've got to palatize your mouth. You've got to palatize your taste buds. So that's why I just took a second one. A lot smoother. I'm still getting that hairspray taste, but let's go in for the third one.
You know, and that's the thing with a lot of the vodkas and the clear liquors. You are going to get a more ethanol, more alcoholic taste, and a lot of people would describe that as a hairspray taste. I wouldn't. At least not in this one.
But vodka is also one of your, I would say, most. You're very familiar with vodka to the point where you can pick up on those notes. You've drank it enough. You've delved into all different kinds of vodka. So that's why in this realm, I would definitely trust your opinion more than mine because I'm a noob when it comes to drinking and testing vodka.
You are, and that's kind of why we're doing complete opposite ends of the spectrum here. We're starting with one that I'm very familiar with and one that you're very familiar with because I don't do the browns.
No.
I stick mostly to the clear liquors.
So what's interesting to me, though...
On this one... I'm
go ahead. Sorry, I apologize.
I'm going to cut you off a little bit.
No, go ahead.
On this one, on my second and third taste, I actually got some fruity flavors coming through there, which is expected. This is a copper distilled liquor.
So does that change anything?
You know, maybe.
Okay.
I'll be honest, I haven't done a lot of research into how most of my vodkas are distilled. But I did a little bit of research on this one. It is distilled in a copper pot in Las Vegas, Nevada.
80 proof.
It is 80 proof and 40% alcohol. But it is actually, to me, it's a very good one. It is one that can be drank straight because once you get past that first initial palatizing taste, as you call it, you get some fruity flavors and fruity notes coming through. Mm-hmm. It's still very, very smooth. That burn mellows out a hell of a lot. Mm-hmm. At least for me it did. And, you know, it turns into a great drink for me.
Well, see, and that's where I was going with that last drink that I had, that third drink. The burn wasn't... It was probably half as intense as the first burn that I felt. And that's kind of what I was seeing is... It got smoother. It progressively got smoother. Now, the hairspray taste gradually went away the more I drank it, but I didn't pick up on any fruit notes. And that's just probably my palate. It just turned into more of a smooth, just kind of more of a smooth vodka. But at the end, it really didn't hit any notes for me.
Well, and that, again, a good vodka shouldn't have too many notes to it.
Okay.
Vodka mixes really well in a lot of different drinks.
And I think this would make a really good screwdriver.
Oh, yeah. This would make a fantastic screwdriver. We'll get into that in just a minute.
Yep.
As far as your initial score on taste and aroma, what would you give it?
So
based on just this neat double shot.
Here's how I'm gonna judge this, and I think this might be how you're gonna judge the bourbon. I am a rookie and I am a newcomer to the world of vodkas, so I'm gonna judge this as from the perspective of what I am, an amateur in the world of vodka. So I'm giving it
that's
a 3.
what we need is that's kind of what we're doing here on all of this is we're just amateurs, regular people don't go drinking every night. Mm-hmm. If you watch the podcast enough, you may disagree with that, but I promise we're not alcoholics.
Well, I give it a 3, and here's the reason why I give it a 3. That initial one made me almost go. The hairspray aroma is very off-putting. At the end of the day, though, I was able to drink it. I mean, after the palatizing taste, would I drink that thing straight, neat? No, not a chance. In a screwdriver, in a mixed drink, I mean, yeah, you know what? It would be good because it's got that extra punch, that extra kick that I'm going to want.
So, as far as taste and aroma, what would you give this as far as your score out of 5?
How I'm going to grade this is for someone who isn't very well versed in vodkas, which I'm not. So I'm going to judge it as someone who is just getting into vodka and that's not as familiar with vodka as they would be with a different alcohol or a different beverage. I'm going to give it a 3. And the reason why I'm giving it a 3 is that initial nosing, very off-putting. That initial first taste was very horrendous to me. Here's the thing, though. At the end of the day, I was able to drink it neat. And it progressively got better throughout the drink. So I have to give it credit there. And I actually think it would be a slam dunk in a cocktail. In fact, we've actually made ourselves some cranberry, raspberry, and vodka drinks to try and test it in a mixed version here.
Yeah, we'll get to that after I give it, my
Yeah,
neat score.
what would you score it as?
I'm actually going to give this a 3.5.
Okay.
I know that's not what you expect me to give a vodka.
I was expecting a 4, I'm not going to lie.
Well, see, and I'm going to give it a 3.5 because, again, a good vodka should be odorless, should be tasteless.
Okay.
It does have that hint of hairspray scent to me as we nosed it. And when we drank it, again, a good vodka should be odorless and tasteless.
Could be the corn, though, because
it could be the corn.
I've never had a corn mash vodka before. That's really interesting.
I mean, it could be. But there are flavors to it which could affect it when it's mixed, and vodka is primarily a mixed drink. And that brings us to our drinkability. Drinkability touches on how well is it mixed, how well is it neat. We've touched on neat. Now, like I said, we got these cocktails here.
I have a question for you, though, real quick, before
I
we drink this. I want to ask you noted floral notes, like fruit notes. What specifically, if you can say, did you note in that? Because I'm curious now.
I got a little bit of cherry.
Okay, all right.
That's about it. Is cherry. I hesitate to delve too much deeper into it because everybody might be a little bit different depending on your palate. And fruity notes.
They're good to have.
They're good to have.
That's interesting.
Because there was a lot of cherry in it, but I also feel like there was a lot of others that could have been there, but I couldn't really put my finger on what it was.
That's fine. But if you can actually put your note on cherry, though, that's a great call out. So let's go ahead. This is Cran-Ran screwdriver.
Cran-Ran.
Cranberry raspberry juice.
Okay, so cranberry raspberry with some vodka put in here.
It's a shot and a half. Let's just call it what it is. Put a shot and a half in here. Cheers.
It's a screwdriver.
That's actually really good.
See, and that right there is one of the marks of a good vodka. You can't even tell that the vodka's there anymore.
Actually, what's interesting is I feel that on the back of my tongue, I get that punch that the vodka was giving me neat. And that's what I said is it was going to be good in a mixed drink because I'm getting that kick a little bit that I want because I actually want to taste the alcohol a little bit, believe it or not. At the same time, though, I want it to blend well with the drink. And this one I'm actually pleasantly impressed. I'm more impressed than I thought it was going to be, actually.
Well, see, and for me, a good mixed drink should taste excellent. I'm not saying there can't be any alcohol taste in it, because sometimes that can enhance the drink, sometimes it can't. Mm-hmm. But primarily when I go for a vodka mixed drink, I almost don't want to know the vodka's there.
Here's what I was thinking. I thought it was going to overpower the drink because of how strong it was. I'm very impressed that it actually very much complemented that drink.
Oh, absolutely. Those fruity notes that I was detecting earlier, I feel like they actually came and complemented this really, really well. It made the drink very, very drinkable. I don't detect a lot of the alcohol in this. We mix these drinks exactly the same. We got a shot and a half of alcohol in here. We got about
half a mini.
We got about 2 shots of the cran raspberry in here. And to me, that drowned out all of the burn. And just the vodka complemented it exceedingly nicely and turned it into a very good drink for me.
So drinkability, what are you giving it?
Drinkability, I give this thing a 5. And when we talk about drinkability, we're also talking about, would you drink it alone? Would you go up, if you're out to the bar, and cost notwithstanding, we're not taking costs into account yet, would you order this drink? And yeah, absolutely, this is a 5 out of 5 for me. I'm going to order it every single time.
Okay.
Well, maybe not every single time. There are a few vodkas out there that
I'd
choose. But this is definitely one that, so they got a silver dollar? Yeah, I'll take a silver dollar. I'll take a shot of vodka.
See, this is where this gets a little tough for me because if it's neat, I give it a 3. In a mixed drink, though, I'm giving it a 4. I'm going to give it a 3.5.
So 3.5?
Yeah, just because the neat, I struggled with the neat. And I can't overlook that aspect of. Yeah, I can't overlook it. So I'm going to give it a 3.5. I'm going to give it a solid 3.5.
Well, and that's fair, because when as we're reviewing these, we're looking at these as neat and or mixed.
Right.
Because there are some of these alcohols that you don't drink mixed. You just don't.
Not necessarily.
And there are some that are primarily mixed, like this one.
Yeah.
So we're going to look at both.
I agree. Let's move on to probably everybody's most important aspect of when we're going alcohol shopping, if not the second most important. And again, like with our firearm discussion, it comes down to, like you said, how much is this going to hurt my wallet? All right, Justin, so you did some research. I know what I paid for this bottle when I was actually in Vegas, but what is the average cost of the bottle?
You know, right now this bottle goes for about $25.
It's about what I paid for it. I think I paid between $25 and $30 when we were in Vegas.
Now, as far as vodkas go, that's about right in the middle.
Mm-hmm.
I do think it's worth it, though. I do think the $25 is a great price range for this bottle of vodka. Because again, it doesn't perform like a high-end vodka should.
But I don't think it's meant to be a high-end vodka, though.
No, I don't think it's meant to be a high-end vodka. I think it is meant to be a kind of run-of-the-mill vodka, which I think it accomplishes very, very well. And when compared to some of the other vodkas that are about the same price range,
I actually think it hits above its belt a little bit. It hits above its weight class a little bit.
as soon as you mix it into anything,
yeah, that's where
it does really, really, really well.
So what do you give it?
You know,
cost
on this one, I'm going to give it 5 out of 5 on cost as well. I do feel like it, for what it is and for how it hits, $25 a bottle, absolutely.
So now here's the next question that's really important. In your private stock, because that is I bought that bottle for you. That was what I brought you back from Vegas. Are you going to keep it regularly stocked on your shelf?
Oh yeah, compare it to like an Absolute vodka.
Okay.
Which is what I would normally keep on my shelves.
You've got a couple bottles of that, definitely.
I got a couple bottles of that, or a Grey Goose.
Well, okay, Goosey's. We'll talk about that one later.
We'll get into all of these a little bit later,
yeah.
But as far as cost for the bottle, yeah, I feel like that one's great cost for the bottle. It's one that I'm going to keep in stock because we'll talk about the others later and what their pros and cons are. But I feel like this one fills that gap perfectly. Is this one that you're going to keep in stock?
Here's the thing. I also give it a 5 out of 5 for cost. And here's why. Even though it's scored low in taste and aroma and flavors and drinkability to me, for $25 for a vodka that I can grab off the shelf where I'm going to keep it on my shelf. Probably when we go back to Vegas next time, here in Utah, I actually don't even know if Utah stocks this one in our liquor stores. And that's the other thing. Where you're at in your region, we apologize if you can't get a couple of these. I do know, however, though, this is a pretty common one in like Colorado.
Well,
and a bunch of states.
With this one being brewed in Las Vegas, even though we're in Utah and Utah's drinking laws are...
Yeah, it's okay. We'll talk about it later.
Well, we'll talk about a lot of things later.
Yeah.
I feel like this one should be readily available throughout the country because it is a U.S.-made vodka.
Yes. Yeah.
And especially with how things are going politically, which we don't like to get into.
We're not getting into that.
Russian-made vodkas and real high-end vodkas are going to become rarer and rarer.
The other thing is why I think this vodka is overlooked is because the company's young. The company's fairly new because they also make, if I didn't mention it earlier on in the video, I think I did, but they make Smoke Wagon bourbon.
Yeah, the Nevada H&C Distilling Company.
Which we're going to get into that bourbon later and review it. Let us know, by the way, if you guys have liquors or alcohols that you want us to review. Comment below.
If there's one that you're thinking about and you've looked at and you're like, I don't know if I want this or not, let us know.
One thing that I definitely want to mention, though, is when we were in Vegas, my wife and I actually went to where the distillery is in North Las Vegas. I really like what they're doing, but they are small. They are a newer distillery. But they also are producing a very, very popular bourbon right now called Smoke Wagon that everybody is loving. I do have a bottle of it, and we are going to review it at a later date. Here's the thing, though. I really, really think for $25, though, this is a good vodka. And I've never had a corn mash before. Again, like I said, I'm going to give it a 5 out of 5. And I'm going to keep it stocked on the shelf, definitely. So let's move on now to the overall experience of the drink. And the reason why we're doing overall experience, and I'll just want to make sure, because it might sound a little bit redundant, why we're doing a score within a score, is because we want to score the alcohol on its own merits as a whole.
Yeah.
So what are your end thoughts, your comments as a whole on this vodka?
As a whole on this vodka, like we said earlier, it hits about a little bit above its weight class as far as cost for the bottle. It mixes exceedingly well, making it very drinkable for me. And as far as the taste and aroma went, it ends up being, again, really at the high end of that because it does well. Mm-hmm. Now, could they do better? Could they improve it? Absolutely.
And I believe they will improve it.
I believe they absolutely can because they've done a fantastic job with this vodka right here. And if they put a little bit more effort, a little bit more time into it, they're going to end up with a really, really nice top shelf vodka.
Real quick, so what's your overall score on that?
My overall score on this one is actually going to end up being a 4.
Okay.
And my overall score, the way I kind of like to do it is a combination of all of my scores together. I gave it 2 5s and a 3.5.
Okay.
So it's going to get a real solid 4 on that because it is a great vodka for what it is.
I'm going to agree with you and go with a 4 too. Real quick though, what's the proof on that? What's the volume on that one?
So this one is a 40% by volume and it is an 80 proof.
I was going to say, so it's an 80 proof-ish?
It is an 80 proof vodka, which for vodkas is fairly common.
Right.
But it is a great one.
So I guess here's the next question for you, and I'll go ahead and answer it first. Would you recommend this bottle of vodka to somebody? I personally, and like I said, I'm not a big vodka guy. I'm barely getting into vodkas. My go-to's always been Grey Goose because that's just all I've really been used to. Here's the thing, though. Yeah, I'd recommend it to somebody. How about you?
Oh, yeah, I'm going to recommend this one. I'm going to recommend it over Grey Goose.
Interesting. Okay.
I'm going to recommend this over Grey Goose. I think it mixes a little bit better than Grey Goose.
We'll get into that later. I like that. I like that thought.
We will talk about that later.
So you gave it a 17.5. Pretty high marks, but I'm not surprised coming from you because you do like vodkas. What did I give it?
You gave it a 15.5, and
it's probably a little higher than I was even anticipating.
I'm surprised by that one. I expected this one to get around 12 from you, if we're honest. And again, these are initial reactions to both these. We haven't tried either of these before. Mm-hmm. This is first opening of the bottle. So, but just knowing how you are with the clear liquors, I expected you to give this a much lower score. So I'm really happy that this got as high as it did from you.
I'm excited. Okay.
So let's dig into the Elijah Craig here.
I am really, really excited for this one. Here's why. So what we have here today is a Elijah Craig barrel proof batch number B523. Here's the thing. I'm not going to lie to you. This is the highest proof I've had. I actually think the only one that even comes close to this is my Four Roses Small Batch Select, but this is a 124 proof, but it's aged for 11 and a half years. So I'm really excited to see what flavors we got out of this.
You know, I'm not a bourbon guy. I don't do the dark liquors very often. And I'm excited about this one. I think.
Ooh.
Right,
Ooh,
yeah.
Okay. I got chocolate on that. Right. I'm going to mention that right now. I got like a cocoa off that right off the.
There is a cocoa flavor on that. I'm not sure if that's coming off the cork or if that's coming from the.
I don't know, but that's awesome.
Give us a pour here. Give us a pour here.
And just so everybody knows, if you haven't bought these, by the way, no one sponsors us, but these glasses are called Neat glasses, and I think these things actually work and do what they say they do. They actually allow me, I suck at nosing, I'm not going to lie, but they allow me to nose the bourbon a lot better, and I feel like I get those deeper flavors that a lot of bourbon enthusiasts rave about. I definitely recommend these glasses. So what do you get on the nose?
You know, on the nose, I still actually get that hint of chocolate. That cocoa.
Okay.
I do get
Or you get oak and yeah.
I do get oak, but it burns my nose a little bit.
I'm getting that little bit of that burn, but at 124 proof, I don't expect anything less.
I don't know what we expected at
Did you
124
cleanse your
proof.
palate? Did you
I,
get water?
I did. I did drink
Okay.
a couple sips of water. Did you?
Yeah, I got it.
We haven't been paying attention to each other, folks. So yeah,
Here's the thing, though. I'm getting like a little bit of an earth tone in there.
you know, I don't get it. I don't.
It's the oak. It's coming from the oak, but it's... Let's go ahead. Let's see what we get here.
Yeah, I just get the ones I mentioned before already.
All right, and by the way, this is initial reaction. I've never had this.
Hey! Oh, I just got punched in the chest there.
Folks, we know who's the bourbon guy.
Oh,
We know who's the vodka guy. Okay, right up front, I get like a Thanksgiving spice, but I get vanilla, and then in the middle I got oak. Okay, I'm really, really excited for what the second taste is going to bring now.
eyes are watering a little bit. You
Right
know what? On that first taste, I do get the vanilla. I do get the oak.
Mm-hmm.
But holy sh! And I apologize for the beep out there. That punches.
Okay, take your second one though.
I will take my second one.
Oh,
I
that
need
is
I
good.
need a half a moment to recover.
Oh yeah, I'm going to talk about the second one really quick while you're recovering. A little bit less on the Thanksgiving spices. Huge vanilla forward, oak, and then I get the cherry on the back end. I get like a dark cherry, and it is smooth. Like, oh my god, this is a phenomenal bourbon.
You know, I do get the vanilla flavors. I do get a little bit of those Thanksgiving spices. But one thing that still keeps coming to me, I mean, on that second one, and I always say the first taste is the palatizing taste, and the second and third are where you really get the flavors. But this thing just burns for me.
It's hot, and here's the thing.
It is a hot.
I was a little worried about that at the beginning because I knew when I picked this bottle
Like,
that you were going to struggle with it.
this, but
Go ahead, dude. You got to do what you got to do, man. I mean, I just had my third, and I got to say, again, it's holding true, but I love a bourbon that's progressive through its drinks. I'm still getting that vanilla up front. I'm getting the Thanksgiving spices. I'm getting the oak. I'm getting that dark cherry. The only thing I'm not getting, though, in the taste on the palate, and you tell me if you're getting it, please, is I'm not getting that chocolate, that cocoa. I don't get the cocoa.
I don't get the cocoa.
I get it on the nose. I don't get it on the palate.
Yeah, on the nose it comes through, but on the palate, not so much. I'm still getting the same flavors. I just held that one on the tongue a little bit longer to try and see if I could get some more out of that. But I'm getting the same thing I was getting on the last one. A little bit of vanilla, a little bit of
The oak.
the oak, a little bit of the pumpkin spice,
Yep.
if you will.
That's a good way to put it, as pumpkin spice. And again, I'm just getting that dark cherry on the back end is the only other thing I'm getting than you. But yeah, it's holding true.
It holds very, very true. And that's one thing that I like in my alcohols is it's part of why I don't like the bourbon so much is because you have to have that palatizing taste.
Mm-hmm.
And then it gets better and better and better and better. But this one's holding very, very, very true all the way through.
Okay. I'm curious. I need to hear this. What's your score?
You know, my score on this one, you're going to hate me for this.
Go ahead.
It's going to get a 2.5.
I kind of figured it was... in fact, 2.5 I thought was generous. I mean, dude, you about fell on your butt.
I did. And that's why it gets a 2.5.
Okay, that's fair.
The flavors are excellent. The scent, it smelled really good. I was expecting this one to be very similar to the vodka, where it
transferred.
It transferred and tasted kind of like it smelled, with a little bit of extra in there. But that initial burn, holy hell! We saw my reaction to that. If you're not a bourbon guy,
It's probably not a good one. I'm getting you there.
This is gonna punch you in the chest, and that burn, for me, the first, the second, the third, and even the fourth drink, that burn just stuck around.
Here's the thing. I'm going to give it a 4.5. And here's why I'm going to give it a 4.5. And to clarify, you bring up a really good point in the bourbon world is
Like,
a lot of times what is on the nose doesn't transfer to the palate, which sometimes can be a huge disappointment. Here's why it gets a 4.5 out of 5 for me. Is it's hot. It burns hot. It's 124 proof. If you don't think it's going to burn hot, sorry, this is not the drink for you. Here's
well,
the
not
thing,
only that, it's 124 proof at 60%.
it's hot. It's going to punch.
This is hot.
But here's the thing, though. The flavors were consistent, and I love bourbons that get progressive. The first one, I think I said I got oak, vanilla, Thanksgiving spices. And then the second hit, I got all of those, plus I got the dark cherry. It just progressively transferred to me, and I think this is going to be my fifth one. But everything's just becoming more enhanced to me. But I'm more used to the bourbon. So yeah, it's getting a 4.5. Okay.
Yeah.
I know this next category is just going to get probably butchered by you again, but I'm sorry, what were you going to say?
I got one more note
Go ahead.
on the taste. You know, I took that last just sip of it because, you know, dumping out an alcohol is not something.
That's alcohol abuse. How dare you?
Exactly. We're not going to do that.
That's good.
That last one, I don't remember if it was my fourth or my fifth. The burn was a little bit lessened finally,
Right.
but the flavors remained consistent. So my 2.5 score is going to remain.
That's fine.
But there's hope, folks. It does get smoother.
Well,
Eventually.
here's the thing, though. Let's be honest. You are to bourbon what I am to vodka.
This is true. I will pick this up and drink this all day long. You won't.
No.
You'll pick that up and drink it all day long. I won't.
And that's
really
fair.
all day long. That's an expression, folks. We're not alcoholics.
We're just enthusiasts.
There's a difference.
All right. So, drinkability. Now, I figure this is going to get some low marks from you too, but I really want to know how you feel about drinkability. So, we have these old fashions that we made, and it's just from a mix, so it's not a true old fashioned, but I want to see how this does.
It's from a classic old-fashioned mix.
And I like this one.
So it's going to be close.
Well, let's find out. Cheers.
Cheers.
Oh, God, that's good. Oh,
All right.
my God, that is amazing.
That actually turns, much like the silver dollar, that turns this Elijah Craig from what the really low score I gave it in taste, turns it to a very drinkable drink for me.
So what do you give it?
You know, I want to talk about this a little bit more.
Go ahead.
Just a little bit. The taste on this, when once mixed with the old-fashioned mix, I get a hint of cinnamon note.
Okay, I got the cinnamon.
And, you know, I get the other flavors coming from the mixer in there. But I lose that obnoxious burn that hurt as I was drinking it before.
Well, and to your point, though, the whole reason that an old-fashioned was even created was to get rid of that obnoxious burn that you're talking about. So,
I agree.
the mix did exactly what it was intended to do. So what other... I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off. What other flavors did you get from it?
You know, it's just more of the same flavors we got in the initial taste that come through, but I get a little bit cinnamon aftertaste.
I got the cinnamon on the back, yes.
Cinnamon on the back end, which to me, it fixes this from that 2.5 that I gave it on taste.
Okay.
It actually brings it up to a 4 on drinkability.
Okay, interesting.
Because when mixed, it mixes really, really well. You know, I have to look back a little bit at the silver dollar here. It was really undrinkable before you tell we mixed it.
That's fine.
The same thing kind of happens to me with that Elijah Craig. It was really undrinkable until we mixed it. And now it's actually really, really good.
So here's where I'm going to go with this. Because you know me, I like to drink bourbons neat more than I like to mix them.
Right.
Here's where I'm going to go with this. I got the cinnamon on the back roll. The dark cherry for me became more predominant with the cinnamon. It mixed in there really, really well. But I know that mix has cherry, so I think they kind of complemented each other really well. Here's what I lost. And this is the part that I kind of find a little disappointing, and this is why I like to drink things neat. I lost the vanilla completely. The oak stayed, the dark cherry stayed, and I got that cinnamon note. But I really like that oak, that not the oak, I apologize.
The vanilla
The
flavor.
vanilla
there.
flavor. And I lost it. I got to give it a 5 though, man, because it was smooth. That was really smooth.
That was really smooth. And by your reaction, if you had given it anything less than 5, I'd had to question you right there.
I
Because
agreed.
you immediately went, "Oh God damn, that's really good," and you finished it.
Oh, it's gone.
It's
That
completely
didn't
gone.
even exist anymore.
I've had a little bit too much tonight, so I'm gonna hold off.
I
on
would say
that.
you better make sure that's gone though.
Eventually I will, but right now
Okay.
I'm just gonna let it sit.
Sounds good.
Um,
All right, so we've got a. What did you say? You give it a 4 on drinkability.
I
give
give
it
it
a
4
5.
on drinkability. You give it a 5.
Let's move on to another category that, again, like the silver dollar, we got to go to cost. Okay, before we get into cost, though, I do want to note something for those people that are not big bourbon drinkers. This is barrel proof, all right? And not only is it barrel proof, but it is a specific batch number. And Elijah Craig, from what I understand, and everybody out there, correct me if I'm wrong, they do yearly releases of the barrel proof. So they're allocated bottles, okay?
Right, and we said this is let me just verify the batch number. B523.
Yes.
Okay, so we're looking at a batch, at a bottle of this right now, going for $80.
Okay, I paid 70 for it.
Okay, so it's gone up in value, at
Okay.
least as far as the market's concerned. How do you feel about? Would you pay the extra $10 for it? Would you pay the $70 again for it?
I would pay 70 again for this, absolutely, because here's why. Barrel proofs get more expensive because they're barrel proofs. They're single barrel, they're not blended, they're not mixed. They're pulled directly out of the barrel. Here's where I really, really enjoyed this drink, because I love a bourbon, like I said, that gets progressive as you drink it.
Right.
That's where it's earning its price tag. Okay? Now, anything more than 70, 75, we're stretching it a little bit.
So we're at $80 a bottle now. Are you going to pay the $80?
So I think that comes down to region, where you live. Here's my biggest thing.
In our region, we're looking at $80 a bottle.
Okay, but I paid 70 for it in our region.
I agree, but it's gone up. The value has gone up as far as the market is concerned. Would you pay current market value?
Yeah, and here's why. Because it's a progressive bottle of bourbon. And we're going to get into this bourbon later, but Knob Creek 12 is another bourbon that is very progressive as you drink it. But here's the thing, though. I personally feel the bourbons that are progressive as you drink them are worth their value.
Okay.
Cost,
What would you rate it?
I'm going to give it a 4. And the only reason why I give it a 4 is because when we get into the $70 to $100 price range, the competition gets really fierce, and you've got to get really picky. So, that
Okay.
being said, I can't quite give it a 5, because, yeah, there are a couple bourbons, and Knob Creek 12 is one of them. Again, we're going to get into it later, but, again,
You pick it over
gets-
the 12, the Elijah Craig.
Probably, but
Okay.
that's for another day.
Well, yeah, that's for another day. But it's good to note that there is one in that same price range that would beat out the Elijah Craig.
And it's an 11.5-year age. I love that it's aged over 10 years, because I'm getting those progressive flavors that I love to get. I do feel like it's worth it. Yes. So, cost, it's a solid 4 for me.
Solid 4.
What about you?
I'm going to give it a 3.
Okay, I kind of figured you were going with a 3.
I'm going to go for a 3. This one, for its cost, I feel like you should be able to drink it neat.
Okay?
And not just for an experienced bourbon drinker. For its cost, it should be one that a novice, like in the bourbon area, like myself, should be able to go spend, I'm going to spend $80. I'm going to get something good. And be able to take it off the shelf, drink it, and go, this was fantastic. neat.
Okay.
Not have to mix it.
One thing I will say, being more of an experienced bourbon drinker than you, folks, this 100% is not a beginner bourbon. If you are barely breaking into the bourbon industry and market, here's one thing I will say, though. You've tried, what, 3-4 different bourbons that I've had?
I've tried 3 or 4 different bourbons.
Here's the thing. I'm going to be very honest with the viewers out there. This is not a beginner bourbon by any means whatsoever. This is a more, for someone like me who's more of an intermediate bourbon drinker, if you're barely getting into the world of bourbon as far as tasting and experimenting,
pick something else, please.
there are a lot of better options out there. Like
I've tried a couple of them. But yeah, I would agree. And that's why this one scores so low for me as it does in cost.
Here's the 3, I feel like, is where I picked you at. And you scored it a 3, and I figured you were going for a 3.
A 3 on this one because, again, if I'm spending $80 for a bottle of bourbon, I would expect it to be an excellent bottle of bourbon. Because for someone like me who's into the clears, $25 for this one.
All day long.
$80 for that one. I'd rather drink this one than that one.
Well, and here's what's interesting about this channel is it's not like we're just tasting bourbons. We're not tasting whiskeys. We're not tasting clears. We're going out.
We're going to taste everything.
We're going to do whatever we can.
I don't know if we've said this before. If you have one that you want us to try and that you're thinking about buying, but you're not sure, let us know. We're happy to try it for you.
Absolutely.
We'll give it a taste and we'll give you our honest opinion about it.
There's actually quite a good chance that I have it in the closet off to the side here.
There is true. But yeah, this one gets a 3 only because if I'm spending $80 per bottle for a bottle, I want it to be drinkable straight. I don't want to have to look up a recipe or go buy something else entirely to make it drinkable.
And here's where I'm going to get into this. So, real quick, my very first bottle that I ever bought was not a beginner bourbon. Okay.
We've discussed that, and we'll discuss it again later. But your first bottle was not a beginner bourbon, and you had a bad time with it.
Here's the thing, though. As my taste buds and my palate have evolved, and that's the thing. If you're going to go buy this bottle and you taste it and you go, "Oh my gosh, I'm not at that level yet," don't panic.
There are some entry-level bourbons for you. We'll get into those. Again, we'll get into a lot of this stuff a lot later. And we'll get into one of the ones that one of the first ones I tried that I really enjoyed. That made me, okay, I'm willing to try some more of the bourbons. What are your overall thoughts on this one?
4.5.
Okay. Explain, can you give me some more details? Why you're giving it a 4.5?
Here's the thing. If I was to rank this bourbon in my entire collection, I have a top 3. We'll get into that later, though. It doesn't quite meet the cut. It's probably sitting at the number 4 slot right now.
Okay.
Number 4 to number 5. The only reason why it doesn't get a 5 is, and this is tough because this is a really good bourbon. It's very progressive. I like it for myself as an intermediate bourbon drinker, but as we are scoring stuff in the way we're scoring it, I have to be fair and honest to the path we've chosen to judge and score these things on. And this bottle, I can't give it to an amateur. I can't say that it's a good beginner bottle of bourbon because it's not. Like I said, if you go out and you buy this bottle for $80, $70, don't get rid of it. Because here's the thing, your palate's going to evolve and your palate's going to change into a way that...
I wouldn't call it evolving because that it implies that it's going to a better place. I would say acclimates.
Acclimate and change would be a good word. That I would
acclimate
say.
and change, because here's the thing: none of these alcohols are necessarily better than the other. We never want to get into that. All alcohol eventually has the same effect.
Yeah, it's just it is what it is.
It is what it is, but it acclimates a little bit better. And for this one, I'm gonna have to give it quite a low score on overall.
I'm guessing you're going to give it a 2. What are you giving it?
I'm actually going to give it a 2.5. A little bit higher than you expect.
All right.
And the whole reason for that 2.5 goes right back to the very beginning, the taste and the aroma. It just kills it right from the start.
Here's
And
the. Go ahead.
for,
Sorry, I apologize.
for me, a good liquor needs to be drinkable from the first drink to the last drink. It needs to be good from the time that you drink it neat to the time that you mix it. That's just how I approach liquors, and a lot of that comes from the vodkas and the clear liquors that I like, because a good vodka, we've talked about, odorless, tasteless. And so neat tastes pretty good. Mixed tastes pretty good. You're going to get consistency.
Right. Bourbons, you don't get that, though. And you and I have talked about that.
We've talked about it a little bit more off camera.
Right.
And I know that you don't get that with bourbons. I know I shouldn't expect that with bourbons. But I still feel like I need to get a drinkable drink throughout. And I feel like I don't get that with this Elijah Craig.
Here's the one thing that's going to be interesting to me when we do this episode is when you've become more acclimated and your palate has changed a little bit more into the bourbon world that I'm exposing you to, kind of like you're exposing me into the clears. I'm really excited to kind of go a head-to-head battle and get, okay, here's where you scored some of these. Let's see where you find out.
When we get into kind of a reflection episode where we kind of go back on, here's how we went on this, here's how we went on that. And, we might change our little scores a little bit as we get acclimated. And that's going to be something that's going to be great for us to explore together as we get deeper and deeper into all of these.
So let's see how we did. All right. You gave it a 12 out of 20. I'm not surprised.
I had high hopes for the Elijah Craig. I wanted to give this thing a 17 or an 18 out of 20. I'd seen this one. We'd read up a little bit on it. I was really excited. I was really happy. I was like, oh, man, this is going to be great. He's going to give me a really good bourbon. This one I feel like just really let me down on this one.
I think where it got you was just the barrel proof. And I kind of saw that coming when I read it, when I was at, 124 proof.
I don't
know. I'm not going to lie, I saw it. I saw it coming. I saw the writing on the wall because 124 proof's even a little hot for me at this point.
And I'm not even sure it was the barrel proof. I think it's a lot of the flavor. The proof didn't help, that's for sure. But I think it's a lot of the flavor. You gave it an 18 out of 20, which for me is actually surprising. I fully expected this thing to get a full 20 out of 20 for you. I expected you to have nothing bad to say about this one. And you did have a couple of
Like I said,
pointers.
The only thing that I dinged it on was cost. Because I think I gave it a what? I gave it a 5 on flavor and a 5 on drinkability.
You did give it a 5 on flavor and 5 on drinkability. You knocked it on cost and you knocked it on overall.
The only reason why I'm going to knock it a little bit, and mind you, these are so minute details, but at the end of the day, we want to be fair with this. And personally, if I was talking just someone like me who has a palate like me, and at the level that I'm personally at in bourbons, yeah, you know what? It scored a 20 out of 20 for me because it's sitting at my number 4 seed right now.
You're right. It is sitting pretty high up in your overall choices for bourbon, and I can see where it could get a 20 out of 20. But again, you
gotta be fair.
You got to be fair to it, and I was fair to this. You were fair to that. I still think.
I mean, how many vodkas do you have in your collection? How many different vodkas do you have in the repertoire right now?
I don't even know.
I've got at least 12 to 15 different brands of bourbons right now in my repertoire. So
to be fair,
I have a lot to choose from.
You have a lot to choose from, and they're all different brands. Mine aren't necessarily all different brands, but they're all different styles, proofs. Yeah. Some of them are flavored, some of them aren't flavored, some of them have different purposes than the others. But there's 20 or 30 vodkas that I can easily choose from and give it a pretty high score if I wanted to. But being fair to it, that Elijah Craig just let me down. It let me down hard tonight.
And that's okay. It's kind of the same thing with Silver Dollar. So I think we can agree that we're trying to look out for the average consumer who, both as a intermediate or an experienced connoisseur of the individual liquors to the beginner, rookie, amateur level, I don't think, though, and I mean, tell me if I'm wrong here, but I don't think either one of these are a bad option. Tell me, if someone came to you and said, would you pick up this bottle? What are you going to tell them?
I'm going to tell them not right now.
Okay?
It's not going to be an out right now. It's going to be an out right now.
Because of your palate level.
Because of my palate level. But I know what I'm getting into with the bourbons thanks to you. But overall, I'd rather go with the vodka, the Silver Dollar over the Elijah Craig. And that's just our personal preference right now. If you're into the dark liquors, that one might be really good for you. If you're into the more of the clears, the gins, the vodkas, the rums, stick with the Silver Dollar.
I agree with that. And I think that's a fair compromise. So
now,
go ahead.
I hate to cut you off, but we are getting close to our time to cut this off.
One thing, though, that I do think we need to recommend, we do need to let everybody know about, is we never talked about our scoring.
We didn't really talk too much about our scoring methods in this one. Our scoring methods of this one, we're going to go with, out of 5 on the taste, the drinkability, the cost, the overall.
All of our categories, whether it be our firearms or our liquor choices, they're all scored out of a possible 5, total of 20. Just wanted to thank everybody who tuned in today for the Double Barrel Podcast. This is our pilot episode. We appreciate all of your support. Thank you. We hope you guys got some useful information. Justin, take us away, bud.
Don't forget to like and subscribe to our channel if you liked what you saw here today. And if you have a liquor or a gun you would like us to try and give you some feedback on, please let us know down in the comments.
Absolutely. And as always, stay safe. Have a great time. Drink responsibly. Have a great night. And from us here at Double Barrel Podcast at the Tombstone Tavern, have a great day. Thank you.
Peace out.